I'm Alex Roberts.
I'm Jared Miller.
And it's time to dangle, snipe, and stampede.
It's good!
Welcome back, everyone, to Dangle, Snipe, and Stampede. I'm Alex Roberts.
And I'm Jared Miller.
And what a weekend we had here at CU. 4 home games for your Buffs. Women's team swept out GCU, and we'll talk about that later in the show. The D2 men's team got shut out by Texas. We'll also talk about that a little later in the show. But, of course, the big highlight of the weekend, the first edition of the Rocky Mountain Face-Off this season.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. First game up in Fort Collins on Friday night, and then a packed house in Boulder Saturday night. A whole lot of fun this weekend. Every time those two teams face off, it's fun.
Well, yeah, the rec center was absolutely packed. It was a great environment. I was really interested to see how they were going to tackle it with the removal of the windows in the rec center, but it seemed like they handled it well. But, yeah, that was a great game, great environment, and we'll talk more about that here in a minute, but I do want to bring up something really special here. This is the first time on this podcast we'll be having a guest. The captain of the D1 men's hockey team, Marc Borghi, joins us on Dangle, Snipe, and Stampede. Take a look. All right, everyone. Welcome back into the podcast booth. We've got the captain for the D1 men's hockey team here, Marc Borghi. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, great game on Saturday.
Awesome.
Great game.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Always fun to play the Rams.
Yeah, always.
Always some of my favorite games of the year.
Yeah, so, I mean, we just got a couple questions kind of. Obviously, the big topic this weekend was CSU. You go into Fort Collins and kind of lose in a heartbreaking fashion the final minute, letting up the go-ahead goal. But a good response, scoring like a minute into the next game on Saturday. What was the message to take away from that first loss and hot start to the second game?
I think after the first game, it was kind of one of those things like we had a rough first period, but I thought we played a pretty good overall game. Most people that were there said it was a very exciting game to watch. And it's kind of been a recurring theme so far this year where the first game hasn't gone our way, but the second game we come out there and like we kind of know like that wasn't the best we could do in the first game, so we got to come out and like that's why we play them twice.
Yeah.
Like that's why we play them twice every weekend, so if something like that does happen in the first game, you have a chance to come right back and kind of correct it in the second, and I think that's what we did.
Yeah, that was going to be another question actually. 4-1 after losing the first game of the series. Is that just you have to win the next one after losing them?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, obviously we'd love to be winning those first ones, and I think they will come. I think we're starting to come together a little bit more, and we're starting to realize like we can't take off any games. We got to play every game like it's the same. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Usually we're going into that second game just a little more like angry, like that's not what we should be doing. Like, and it's not. I don't think we've been having our worst games on the Thursday or on the Friday night games. It's just kind of a lot of the games haven't really been going our way. Like that Missouri State one, I thought wasn't our best game, but I didn't think it was our worst. Their goalie kind of shut us out, and it was just a rough one. But again, we knew we had to come back and just.
Yeah, that first game of Missouri State was a good game.
Yeah, exactly.
But you guys came out flying in that second game.
Yeah.
It was really, really like 3 goals in the first 10 minutes. I mean, it looked absolutely nothing like that first game, and it's a fantastic game. I mean, come on, 13 goals in an overtime win.
Yeah,
can't get much better than that.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was one of the best games of the year.
Yeah, fun one to play in too.
All right, so I think the big thing in the CSU game, the second CSU game in the first period was that CSU's first goal on that breakaway.
Yeah.
It was offsides. I don't think there's a question about it. Well, how do you kind of regroup after seeing that go? And I think everyone in the ring knew that was offsides except the linesman.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little frustrating, but at a certain point, there's nothing you can do about it. And I think that's kind of been a problem throughout the last couple of years with us, and I mean, myself included, like kind of let the refs get to us a little bit too much. But I think what we've been doing a lot better this year is kind of like it's out of our control. There's not really anything we can do with the refs. So the only thing we can do is go back out there. I was reading, I think, your article. I know Trunco said in there, it's like it's about the next shift, and that's kind of our mentality too. Like even if that shouldn't have been a goal, which I kind of thought that was offsides as well, but yeah, it's about the next shift, and I thought we came back and just responded really well.
We have a perfect screenshot of hump on just before he gets the puck, and the linesman just going say
Yeah,
like no
yeah,
offsides.
yeah.
Oh,
I heard you guys say in the broadcast
out
too.
of
I had a
context.
similar one like right before, but I
Yeah.
bobbled the puck, and that's why they didn't call
Yeah.
it offsides. But it happens. Like
well, and then what a response! You guys score like just a couple minutes
it was
later.
it was like
as well.
30 seconds later.
Yeah.
It felt like.
yeah,
And
exactly. And I mean, I think that kind of has been our mindset all year. Just like you can see it. Like after they score a goal, we come back and we score one of our own, or we lose the first game, we come back, we win one of
Yeah.
our own. Like it's kind of been like, obviously we want to get that first game under control or not let those goals happen, but it's kind of out of your control at that point. And the only thing you can do is respond with how you play.
So it seems like there's a lot of, well, not a lot, but a couple new additions to the team this year, whether it's Marcin Kevinchus, Pearson, I think those are
And
Wood.
of course,
yeah.
Wood,
of course, Dougie.
And the lines kind of got bobbled up a little bit because last year it was you with McConaughey and Peshenik, and
Yeah.
you all had over 20, 25 points, 28, 30, and 35. Playing with a bit of a different line with Trunco and DiDomizio this year, at least in the past couple weeks. What's the big difference in shift from last year to this year with the lines?
Obviously, I mean, I loved playing with Max and Drew. Like,
Mhm.
we played together for a year and a half, 2 years, and we loved it. And we went into this year thinking we were going to play together as well. And kind of just like our first couple games, we weren't really clicking as well. And the good thing about having all these new additional guys is you have room to, like, actually move those lines around and see what does work. And I think we found 4 good lines, and we have the guys that aren't playing every game who can still come in and, like, make an impact on the 4th or 3rd line. And I mean, Roman's a great example. Like I don't think he was playing every game at the beginning, but he stepped right in with me and Tronco, and I thought he's been a very good presence on the dot.
Yeah, I really like seeing you guys play together. Like, you guys look like you're really gelling together now.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of seeing now like a more established line because I think McConaughey's playing with Pearson and Wood. That line's looking really good
yeah.
together. They're looking like they've been playing
Yeah,
for
exactly.
like how long you
Yeah.
Drew and Max were playing before. Like,
Yeah.
and then Max is playing with Rapp and George, and they played. Fred joined the line on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I love the way that you guys have been able to shift, and really not much has looked different. I mean, you guys look really good. Doesn't matter who's on what line. You guys just seem to have a lot of chemistry, and
Yeah,
that's
agreed.
great right now.
Agreed. I think, like, the whole team, like, I mean, we're with each other every morning, every weekend, like, playing together, and I think just over time you build a bond with every single one on the team, so it's almost at a certain point, no matter who you're playing with, like, you kind of know what their tendencies are, and the more you play with them, like, I'm starting to learn more about Trunco and Roman as well, but I think you put any of us out there with anyone else, and I think we gel pretty well, which I think it's been showing in the last couple weekends.
All right, I have a question about goaltending because this year it seems a little different where you have more of a rotation between Ogwen and Server. What's that like having 2 goalies back there that you feel like you can win with every night?
It's amazing. I love it. I love Server. I love Liam. Both of them are, I'd say, 2 of our best players. I mean, it's hard to pick just one, but
Yeah.
those guys have consistently showed up every single game, and it is just like relieving going into every game, knowing like if you make a mistake, you have those guys back there to maybe get you out of it, or vice versa as well. If they make a mistake, they know they have us to like kind of pick them back up. But having both of them back there has been amazing, and they're both great guys in the locker room as well. So it's been good having both of them.
Because I just know last game Ogwen kind of started chirping at one point. It's kind of led to a brawl. I was like, it's weird. I feel like when I played it, I feel like the goalie was always like just a quiet person who kind of kept to himself and was in like this mojo, and he's just complete opposite where it just seems like he's ready to go at all times and not afraid to talk to anyone.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of goalies are a little on the quieter side. I'd say Server's a little on the quieter side, but like whatever it takes for them to lock in. I think Liam, like, that's his game. He's vocal to us, vocal to the other team, and I think like that's what gets him in the zone, like, and it works. So keep doing it. I can't complain about that.
Yeah. I noticed that Server's the one who's starting on the road a lot. What is Liam not making the trip out? What's going on with that type of stuff? I mean, of course, it seems like there hasn't been much of a disconnect because you guys are still winning games on the road. But it's kind of been an interesting thing. Liam's starting most of the games at home, and Matt's starting most of the games on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think we've had like a specific structure to like the road games or anything. I know Liam had a little bit of time at the beginning of the year where he was away from the team for like a week or two. And that kind of helped Server kind of jump in there and prove what he can do, which he did
That's
very
great.
well. But yeah, I don't think we have like a specific structure to it, but I think both of them could start either day.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can't, either of them can go in either day, and you're comfortable out there. So
That's good to hear.
yeah.
And then one of the last things is first season as captain. Obviously, Trunco's still there as well. And yeah, is that like not weird, but what's it like kind of leading the team and having that support around you as well with people who've done it before?
Yeah. I mean, I know all these guys really well. I've known most of them for like my entire career here. I know my sophomore year, the first year I actually got to play, I think we had like 18 new kids.
Oh, wow.
Because of the COVID year. So like
it
was both
yeah.
the freshmen and the sophomores.
Yeah.
But the advantage of that is all these guys grew up together. We kind of all like had the same mindset going into it. So yeah, like I might be the captain, but we have Trunco, we have Max, we have Luke Gosnell, we have Fred. Like we have unlimited guys who are all leaders in the locker room, leaders on the ice, even some of the freshmen, like Dougie, Brody, Rapp, even some of the guys who aren't playing, just like their presence in the locker room and just seeing how much everyone cares. Like I wouldn't say there's one distinct leader on the team, and it is nice having everyone around you. Just it's a good core of leaders and leadership group, so it's been pretty fun.
And does that kind of go with the coaches? Because a lot of the coaches have, I know Tommy played last year, and then
Tracy's a former player as well.
Yeah, all the coaches seem to be former players in the last handful of years. Is that kind of the similar where like they're the coaches but kind of have this connection with them as well? That's pretty strong.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just like we have one coach who actually went to CSU, so
okay.
But he's fully on the CU side now. So but yeah, just having those guys who have like actually gone through, even Sam who's went to CSU, like he knows what playing club hockey at a school like CSU or CU is like, and just having someone who understands like kind of what it takes, because you do have a lot of stuff going on. You have school, you have your social life, and like hockey's not the easiest at the club level. You don't get everything you want, which is fine though. That's like we're playing because we love it. But yeah, having those guys like Trace, he was on a good CU team. He knows what it takes to win. He was our assistant coach my sophomore year. So we knew him, and like we knew him behind the bench. It wasn't just like a random, like he played here. We know him pretty well. Let's get him. Like we knew what he could do on the bench. And same with Tommy. Like I think Tommy's gelled perfectly into that coaching role, and having a guy that like you can be friends with on the bench, as well as like someone who can kind of lead you and like tell you when you're not doing something correctly. And I think having Tommy on the team, we all trust him a little bit more too. So like we'll actually, we like listening to him, and we take what he says, like, take it seriously. So
oh, it's just fun seeing Tommy on the bench.
Oh yeah,
still.
It's fun having him on the bench. He's a character.
Yeah.
Right.
Super fun guy.
So you're 500 heading into the next semester. What's kind of the look going into the second semester and second half of the season?
I think we're pretty confident. I think obviously we've had a couple games where it hasn't gone our way, but I think overall, like throughout the season, it's just been getting better and better. We kind of have this like mantra on the team of like excellence, not perfection, and we kind of have a graph that like it's not linear, it's exponential, and it's not going to all happen at once. And it's a long season. Like we're playing until February, March or something. We have a lot more games left, so we're ready to come back. I think we're coming back a little early to play UCO. In Oklahoma, and that's obviously a tough game, one of the tougher games of the season, but I don't think any of us are doubting ourselves. We're pretty confident going into any weekend, no matter who we're playing. So
that's what's really fun.
Yeah, we're very excited.
Yeah, it's a great conference. I love seeing you guys, play some of these great schools. Just absolute class in the ACHA. So super looking forward to the second semester
we are
you guys have to offer us.
Yeah, we are too. I'm excited.
Well, anything else?
I don't got any questions left.
I think I'm good.
Thank you guys for everything you've been doing the last couple of years. Like I know we don't really interact as much, but you guys have been doing a great job, and I know a lot of our parents really appreciate it. I know we appreciate it. You guys are doing a really good job. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thanks for coming and joining and talking with us a little bit.
This was fun.
Super fun. If anyone else wants to come on, let them know, and we'll definitely have them.
Yeah.
Talk more. This was great. want to thank Mark for joining us here on Dangle, Snipe, and Stampede. And now back to the rest of the episode.
We want to thank Marc Borghi for joining the show. And if you want to read more about the Buffaloes game against the Colorado State Rams, check out the Scobuff Sports website. We'll throw a link in the description or on the screen. And I wrote that after the game. And if you want a more in-depth look at it, I say check it out.
Yeah, it's a great article, and the site's we've been putting out great content on the site. You want any news on CU sports, we've got you covered here on Scobuff Sports. Going back to your article, actually, what was the big moment in the game that you had a interesting reaction to one of the CSU goals?
Yeah, I mean, it was to paint the picture. It's a 2-0 game. Colorado had the lead. The most egregious offsides miss I think I've seen in person was not called as I believe it was Riley Huntbon entered the zone probably 4 to 5 feet offsides. That might be being generous, and buries home a goal past Liam O'Gwen to cut the lead in half. That was a huge momentum swing, going up 2-0 to then 2-1 when it should have been blown dead.
Well, yeah, and you're just thankful in this situation that didn't come back to be a game decider. Because if that game was decided by one and it was in the favor of the Rams, it would be a completely different discussion about that.
I would not have
goal.
been as tame if that was what happened. It's just like I understand there's mistakes, but it's not like it was a bang play.
Yeah.
It was. I'm watching it again and I laugh. It was genuinely not close.
It was really funny because we were in intermission in that second period. Nick, who was running social media that day, he took a picture. He took a screenshot of Huntbon not touching the puck yet, right before it touched his stick, and it was offsides and everything. And then the ref, you can in the corner of the picture, you can see the ref giving the no offside signal. And it's just one of the greatest hockey screenshots out of context that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah,
I might throw it up here.
We'll have to throw it up the clip and maybe just the screenshot itself. But like I'm looking at it, it's not close at all, and the ref's staring right at it. That's or the linesman that is. So I mean, yeah, like we said, it's good it didn't come back to bite the team at the end of the game as they were able to take home the 5-3 win, but. Oh, man, that would have not been...
Oh.
You wouldn't have been happy.
You talk about controversy. That would have been the ultimate controversy for this
just
team.
Heightened against your biggest rival.
Well, yeah, and of course it would have had to have been against CSU, too. So...
it was a full rec center that I think everyone... I think everyone in the... I think I wrote in my article, everyone in the rink knew that was offsides except the man holding the whistle.
Yep.
Because even if you're CSU, like you can't deny the bench is staring right at it too. Like they know it's offsides.
They know it's offsides.
I mean, good on Huntbon for not stop and play because there was no whistle blown. But my goodness,
you can't blame him. He's the one who's like, oh dang, he missed the call. Maybe just score real quick.
Yeah. So that one had me crazy because just like watching the clip back, I say that's offsides. Probably 10 times.
Oh yeah, you said that's offsides, right? Even before the goal.
I said it as it happened. I was like, "That's offsides," and then he scored it. And I looked at you and I was like, "That was offsides."
Yeah, that's the first thing that you say. Just he scores, and it's like not even like 3 seconds. That was offsides, dude. That was offsides.
Yeah.
How do you miss that call?
So yeah,
and then there was a review after it looked like they were
talking about it.
But like I was like, oh, maybe they understand that it was offsides, or
I mean, they have no proof. There was proof that they can't use. They don't use it,
but they can't use it.
Yeah,
because not everyone has it. Yeah,
but that was. I mean,
that was wild.
It definitely made it interesting. It's good to
kept it interesting though,
and it's good to laugh at it now.
Yes, yes, very much so.
But I talked about it in my article. I asked Adam Trunco about it as well after the game, and he gave me some good quotes. So if you want to go check that out, Scobuff Sports website, and check the description for the link.
Yep. So
Also, shout out Christian Blanco for a sick
oh
picture.
my gosh, yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, no, we had some good photographers there that showed up for that game.
Yeah, I can't wait to see more of their footage when they edit it together.
Yeah, no, I've seen some of the pictures that have been posted
Yeah.
on our socials. It looks really good.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for that as well, because we had a lot of good footage from that game.
Yeah. So I guess that kind of really, I don't think you have any more comments on that series. We talked about it at length with Mark.
Yeah.
So I think it's only fair to move on to the game that happened right before the CU-CSU match, the CU-UT matchup between Colorado and Texas.
Yeah, I was excited for that one.
I was too.
We haven't seen Texas yet.
I was
Well,
like
obviously
really excited because it was like
yeah.
Texas. It was like a big school. I was
They just won their conference
the same day. It
in
was
football,
like
so
it was earlier that day. They were riding a high, and I was really interested to see what the Buffs could do against another team from the TCHC, because they already had a couple stinkers against ETBU.
Yeah, and I guess we can jump to it earlier. It was pretty much the same result.
It was another stinker.
Yet to score a goal against a team from Texas this season in 3 attempts. Zero goals in 3 games against teams from Texas.
It's just brutal.
And
frankly,
it's just getting tough.
The takeaways that I have from watching both the games against East Texas Baptist and Texas, the players on those teams are very physical. Their forecheck is unrelenting. They're constant pressure. They're very fast, and there was no room for CU to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And in both games, they just couldn't, and because of it, they couldn't get any good grade A scoring chances. And even when they did have a couple, their goaltenders are making great stops.
Yeah, it's just like they have chances, but it just was nothing was beating
Jesse Reinhard.
Yeah. And it's tough because you see Texas, or when it was East Texas Baptist, they played CSU that weekend, and
lost.
CSU put up 5, and then Texas beat CSU the night before. But these teams are playing other games in the weekend, and still it doesn't look like they're losing a beat.
No, not at all.
So,
and not even to mention that Texas, the next day after they shut out CU, they went to Westminster and beat Metro State.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're ranked number 6 right now in the West region. Texas is actually out on the outside looking in the rankings. They're number 21.
And
safe to say they're going to get a boost beating Colorado State, who was number 20. I think they were 20, and then Metro State, who's top 10. So
yeah,
it's a big boost for them.
But yeah, that's just it's getting tough because
the situation's becoming more dire. For
I mean, you got it. Like, because they let up 4 goals, obviously not terrible, not the greatest. But when you're not scoring, if you let up 1 or 2 goals, then you start to panic. It feels like.
Yeah,
and like I thought Lawrence played really well in the game on Saturday against Texas.
Yeah.
2 deflections. Hard to stop.
He had a bit of a slow start.
Yeah, the first couple of shots were he kept looking behind him, which is never something you
kind of got into the game towards the back half.
Yeah, but let's see, there was probably 1 goal he wanted back, and that was the 3rd one from where it was just a nice shot from the corner.
Yeah, like the tough angle one.
But he probably wants that one back. But the other 3 that they gave to Silberstein. With an asterisk. He had 2, and they gifted him a 3rd one.
I don't know what the website was thinking. That was wild.
But I mean, one of Silberstein's goal was a deflection.
Yep.
The first one he scored was just like on the power play, right in the slot.
Yeah.
And then the 4th goal of the game that they gave to Silberstein, that was actually Alcorn's goal.
Yeah.
Was another deflection that was just beating Lawrence. So it's like
Alcorn was getting a lot of those chances.
Yeah.
He was that guy like on the power play that was just in the slot waiting
just the
for
bumper
everything.
Kind of.
Yeah, and he had plenty of good chances, and he put one through.
The deflection got home, but
he put one through.
Oh yeah, he did. He didn't get rewarded for it, but he did score.
He did score. Yes,
but it's just like once you let up that first or second goal, it's running into like they're kind of in trouble. It feels like because you're like, are they gonna score? I mean, Metro State, when they played before we left for break, they scored 2 in the third period to close the game to end it 4-1 or 4-3, right?
They put an empty netter, so 5-3.
5-3. But they came back and got back into that one a little bit. But, I mean, you just look at their goal scoring, and it's not there. They have how many goals do they have on the season? I lost.
They've got 55.
55. And
what's really weird is they're scoring more than they're letting up.
But that's I feel like it's kind of
it's
outlier
super inflated
because of those 3 games, 2 against Wyoming and 1 against Idaho State.
Very inflated.
So were those all double-digit games? No,
they scored 8 and 9 against Wyoming.
8 and 9, so nearly double digits.
14 against Idaho State.
So I mean, yeah, you're saying it's inflated, but I mean they've been shut out 3 times, all against the Texas teams.
I think so.
And then they're scoring a little bit, but when they do score, then that's when they're kind of letting up.
Yeah.
More. They're letting up 6 goals or 5 goals or 8 and 5 against Metro. It's like when they do score, that's when they're running into the issue with goal. I mean, they scored 6 goals in a game, and that's when they let up 7.
Of course, right?
So it's like when they do score, there seems to be a lack of defense, at least in those games from what we're looking at with the numbers. Obviously, it's harder to tell when you're not fully watching, and you can only judge by the numbers. But when they do score, they let up the goal. So maybe they sacrifice defense a little bit for offense, but then when they're playing strong, better defensively, they just aren't scoring goals at all. So it's like a tough combo to have.
Well, I think the thing that's really standing out to me, it's like Simpson has 11 goals on the season. And I forget, hang on. I have this logged down. We have it logged down on our call sheet. Let's see. Simpson actually was not present for the Wyoming games, it looks like. He didn't score multiple points. But he scored 5 points against Idaho State. He had a hat trick and 2 assists. One that stands out to me is Garrett Coveney. He's got 13 points on the season, 7 goals and 6 assists. Over half of the points that he scored this season were in that one game against Idaho State. He had a 7-point day. 4 goals, 3 assists. It was just absolutely everywhere. But outside of that, he's got just 3 goals, 3 assists for just 6 points.
And we were talking about, we were like hoping that game was a spark. We were hoping that game be a spark for the offense, but the next game, obviously there was a break between the 2 games with Thanksgiving and all of that. But just
he came out flat.
Get 14 goals in the previous game and then get shut out the next one, it's like maybe, I don't know. It's tough.
And I think the difference is just simple. Like the teams that they're playing are just at a different caliber. Obviously, Idaho State was in like their first 5 games as a club, so of course they're going to get
killed
blown
again
out
this weekend. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so of course they're going to get blown out. But you look at like game against Texas, and it's just like they were getting chances against Idaho State, but it's like even when they got chances, they weren't being able to beat the goaltenders. I think that's part of it. It's just like I wouldn't even say that they're getting goalied very much. They're just not. They don't have great shot location, and it's just like some of these shots. Yeah, they're putting shots on net, but they're not that hard to stop.
Yeah, and maybe, I mean, this could be a slight issue, but I mean, Silverman's only played 6 games. Del Tufo only played 5.
I don't know what's happened with Silverman. He played at the beginning of the year. I don't know if I've actually seen him this season. He's been hurt for a while. It might be an injury.
Yeah,
but
it's just because I was just like looking at this. Those are 2 guys who could have a bigger impact on the offense, and they just haven't played in games. So that's
Del Tufo scored his only 2 points against Idaho State. So I think he'd be important to have on the team. I mean, especially because he was the only player who swapped teams from the D1 and the D2 teams. No one from the D2 team got put up into the D1 team, but Del Tufo is the only player that was on the D1 team last year that's on the D2 team this year.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's getting, like, it's running. The good thing about this is that you just got to make the postseason, and then anything can happen. And in this case, there is the BMHC tournament, but
they'd probably have to, if they keep...
They have to go through... right now, they'd have to, Well, it depends how they do it without UNC.
Without Northern Colorado.
So, like, if that's the case, maybe the first place team gets a bye.
Yeah.
And then
maybe
you'll have to play
maybe it's just
Denver.
You play Wyoming, and then you play whoever places first, whether that's Metro State or Denver.
Yeah.
And then Colorado State draws the other team of those two, because I feel like Colorado State right now is solidly in that 3 spot in the BMHC. They sit right now. I mean, they don't have as many conference. So they both have the same amount of conference wins, which I think is kind of what's going to make the next 2 games for Colorado incredibly important, because, of course, they play CSU to end the semester, and then they obviously we still don't have the schedule for the BMHC Classic, which I find to be really interesting. I mean, it's little more than a month away. I'd assume we'd probably have teams to come and play. But their first scheduled game as of right now in the second semester is a road game against Colorado State. So I think that it's just really important they have 3 games against them left. They have a game against Wyoming left. Thankfully, they don't have to play Denver anymore. And then they have one more home game against Metro State.
Yeah. So I mean, if you take it they just have to make the tournament, unless obviously there is a change without Northern Colorado. Maybe they just make it a 4-team tournament.
And frankly,
if
they'd
not,
still get in because of how Wyoming's played. They still haven't won a game in conference.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's that. And then, I mean, maybe Metro State gets a bye if they do put all 5 teams in, and then, you play your biggest rival? Because it seems like Colorado State are the 3-4. Or Colorado State's 3, Colorado 4.
I'd assume you'd probably put 4 and 5 together.
I would think it would be high seed when you're not based off seeding.
Yeah, like Metro State would be the one, they get the bye.
Yeah,
and you pit 2 and 3 against each other, and then 4 and 5 would play a preliminary game.
So then play-in into the
play-in
it'd be a play-in.
To then just play Metro State. That to me seems like that's what I think they would do.
Either way, you're not having an easy path.
No.
if you get in,
and
they wouldn't be an easy path no matter where you place, kind of. At this point.
And to them, I feel like you have an opportunity if you are able to, say that this game against Colorado State doesn't go amazing, and you end the first semester 4-11 on the year, and your 4 wins are against UCLA. That's your really only signature win. And then you've beaten Wyoming twice and Idaho State.
Yeah.
You got to find a way to beat, anyone else. And the good thing is that from what it looks like, the West region isn't really that strong. There's over 50 teams, and Colorado's placed at like 25 right now in the West region.
Yeah. Top
14 get into regionals, of course, barring a conference champion that is outside that mark.
Yeah.
So CU still could make it in if they make the tournament and then win the BMHC tournament. They could get an auto bid, but obviously, I don't know how likely that is. So say they have don't have a great game against Colorado State. They will have plenty of opportunities.
I mean, that BMHC Classic's big because those Texas teams seem to be pretty good.
It depends on who comes in. I have no idea because
I want to see TCU.
Yeah, because Texas A&M. Well, they played Texas A&M, but they didn't play in the BMHC Classic last year. Some of the teams that came in. Hang on, let me find it here. ETBU came in. CU played ETBU last year and won 4-3. They beat Dakota College Bottineau, which right now, as it currently stands, is the number 2 team in the West region. And when they beat them, they were in the top 10.
Okay.
They lost to Williston State. They lost to Arizona State. I mean, they had some good competition come in, and they went 2-2 in that span. And then later that week, that was when they beat Denver.
Yeah.
And I remember vividly being frustrated when they didn't move them up much at all. And it's like, these are some of the best teams in the region. Maybe ETBU, maybe they're closer in that range, but why aren't you moving them up after they beat Dakota College and Denver? Like, sure, they may have lost to ASU and Williston State, but Williston State had not played very many games, and it's just I never got it last year.
Yeah.
And they missed regionals. They finished at number 22 in the region. And I mean, ASU was the team that got shafted from the West Regional because ETBU won the TCHC outside of the top 15.
Yeah,
So
that's tough.
they got an auto berth. But, a team that wasn't there last year, that isn't here this year, of course, is Northern Colorado. So there's a little bit of a door opening there, but they really need to put together, and they're going to get plenty of opportunities. Say Dakota College comes back. That's going to be a huge game that if they're somehow find a way to win again, that'd be huge. Maybe Montana or Montana State comes in. I know some of the other teams in the conference have played them. I don't think it'll happen, but there's some other really good teams. Of course, TCHE's got some good competition. SMU's having a good season. I think TCU would be great. Baylor and Texas A&M are also hovering right around where
the Big 12 rivalry
CU.
early.
Exactly. You start playing them, year in, year out. I think that'd be great.
That'd be fun.
I'd like to see that. It's like one team hosts and then you flip flop.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think it's press panic yet.
But if they have a poor BMHC
big.
Classic, I think it might be because they still will have opportunity because they got Metro State again, and then you have that 3-game weekend trip in Utah against Weber State, Utah Valley, and Utah State. And of course, Weber State and Utah State are both really good again in the West region, so that could be a chance to get some important wins. But I don't know. They've really got to dig deep and find a way to win some of these games against even slightly competitive teams, because they're struggling right now to really beat anyone besides the bottom feeders of the West region.
Do you have anything else about this team?
Not really. I think that this is a really big game for them against Colorado State.
It's always a big game against Colorado State.
Yeah.
I think we saw that last weekend too. But
which, by the way, on that note, if you're watching this and you didn't know there was another Colorado State game this Friday at 7 p.m., show up at the rec center, Buffs and Rams again. I want to double check that real quick.
the time?
Yeah, just to be 100% sure.
Yeah.
I think it's 7.
That sounds right.
But show up. It's gonna be a fun game. Yeah, it's at 7. It's gonna be a fun game. It's going to be an entertaining game, hopefully. And it's Buffs Rams. Who doesn't want to see more Buffs Rams action?
I know I do.
I'm excited for it. I think that that could be a spark plug if they win that game, because it's at home. It's against your biggest rival, and it can maybe jumpstart something because they've struggled this year, and maybe a win against CSU is what they need.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to find out.
Yeah,
Talk about it next week.
We'll have to find out. We'll talk about that next week. Everything will change. My opinion on the season is probably going to change quite a bit with how that game turns out. But enough about the D2 team and their future outlook. I think the team that got it done this weekend and really improved their chances is the women's team.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it for a couple weeks now, like looking at the schedule, because they didn't their first game in a month, nearly a month. Yeah, we were talking about you don't want to call a game must win when it's still the first semester, but it was running into a situation where it's like you don't have many games left after this. You're playing the worst team in your conference. You kind of got to pull out these 2 wins to set up your chances of making the tournament. And
they did. They went out, they played on Friday and Sunday, and they won both contests. They won the first game 3-2. It was they won. That was the game they won, but it didn't look great for a bit.
Third period comeback.
Yeah, I mean that second period did not look good. They were up 1-0 at the end of the first, and then they let up 2 goals in the first half of the period, and then it almost felt like they not actually panicked, but their shots weren't as quality in the second period. They were just kind of throwing things on to try and see if they could beat Hannah Schneidmiller. But then, of course, early in the third, they score, and then in the last 5 minutes, Melina Atwood, dagger.
Okay. Yeah, and I think we said it during the broadcast, but it looked eerily similar to what she did last year against GC. Can we put up a side-by-side of that?
I could probably try and
I think we should try, because you said that, and I was like, that did look familiar. It looked like the exact same goal from last year.
Yeah, she picks it up
last year they ended up falling in that contest.
Well, that was interesting because both goals she picks it up at right before the blue line and comes into the zone, and then just walks right in and just goes top right corner on Hannah Schneidmiller. And the only difference was that the goal last year was to tie the game, and the goal this year was to take the lead. And GCU is a much different team this year than they were last year. So, I mean, that was a huge win for them. And, it stinks because that goal last year was in like the last 2 minutes of the game, and then they let up another one before overtime. And then this year,
they hold on, win the game, and
talk to me about the final 30 seconds. They just weren't pressuring in the corner.
Oh my God! Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. I almost forgot. So Colorado ended up with the power play.
Yeah, like under 2 minutes left,
and GCU was down one.
Yeah,
and Colorado was just working the puck around in the corner, like playing a game of pass. And GCU was just standing there watching the defense. They were in pressure.
It was like passing practice.
I was sitting there and I was like, are they just gonna give? Like it looked like they just gave up at that point. Maybe it was just like a mental lapse or something. But they just letting Colorado kill the clock instead of pressuring and at least trying to get down the ice and tie the game. You're still down one, down a player. Maybe you pull the goalie, get back to even strength, but like it just looked like
even
they
then,
surrendered.
It's like when they cleared it, it was like there was like 5 seconds left. It's like you can't make any play out of that now. You wasted too much time, and it's like that's it. It's game.
Yeah, that was crazy. I was sitting there and I was like, what are they doing?
Well, and the Grand Canyon fans in attendance, they were like. They were trying to be like,
I think they were
pressure them.
Yeah, they were doing what I was doing. I was like, what are they doing? Like, it's just like in that situation, you got to know you can't just like. I understand like you have your penalty kill, and if it's the second period and you're not down one, or even if you are down one, you just kill the penalty. But in the final minute, like, who cares if you let up a goal? You're gonna lose if you don't pressure them either way.
Yeah.
So that was crazy, but benefited Colorado. They had a pretty easy way to close out that game in the last minute.
Well, it was
seconds.
an important win because the other 2 wins before going into this weekend, they won 4-0 against Montana State and 6-2 against Denver. When they had won, they had looked really good. They had not been able to close out close games or any games that were really even within like 3 goals. They were losing every single one of them. So they come out and win the close game. Of course, they scored 2 in the third. Huge win for them because Grand Canyon was desperately needing a win after tying the night prior in Fort Collins. And then, on Saturday, when we were busy with Buffs Rams and Buffs Longhorns, the Antelopes were in Fort Collins again, and then they lost 7-3. And so now, at this point, they're 0-2-1 with a tie on the road trip. And coming into Sunday, they had to have a win if they wanted to have any sort of hope in the WWCHL. And they came out, and they looked so tired. They looked so gassed.
I wasn't at that game. I wasn't able to make it, but I tuned in and see it's 5-2 at the final, and it's like, okay, that's probably what they should have done on Friday night, but at least they were able to get a second win on the weekend because they set themselves up in a lot better situation now than they were before this weekend started.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for them in that game, they got off to a hot start. Mia Faselli scored a goal in the first minute, and it wasn't even like an intended breakaway. I think Ewald just tapped it a little bit, and Faselli was there, and she was behind the defense, and then went right in and put it in past Schneidmiller. And then in the second, they found a couple really nice plays, and the player I really want to point out in this game is Rowan Nasty. I really liked what she had been doing the couple times I had seen her before, but it stunk because it was like she hadn't gotten on the score sheet. She wasn't making, a play to score or make an assist. And she scored her first 2 points of the season in that second game. Had a nice backhander pass to Wallace, who had a backhander shot, and that got in. And then minutes later, she has a wicked deflection tip to get her first goal with the Buffs. And that was a really, really nice deflection. That was one of the nicest deflections I'd seen here. Just kind of up in the air. That shot was going well wide of the net, and she got a really good stick on it to kind of just deflect it right past Schneidmiller. At that point, it's 3-1. I think it's 3-1. It's 3-1 at this point with that goal. And then at the end of the period, Buffs finally score again on the power play because remember going into that, they were bad on the power play, to put it lightly.
Yeah.
So they finally got another goal on the power play, and that was Faselli. And then, of course, Ewald capped off the night or the day in the third with about like 5 minutes left. She just fires a wrister from like, not even like the slot, but like a little in front of the blue line, and it just beat Schneidler. She just didn't even see what was happening. Like, she just didn't move at all. It was really interesting. Like, GCU just looked so beat by that point. And, you know, they were down 5-1 at that point, I think. And then they scored another goal. They scored a power play goal to make it 5-2. Or no, it was 4-2, and then Ewald scored to make it 5-2, I think. Regardless, they just killed the clock, and they just looked so out of it in the last, like, 3 minutes. They looked so tired, so gassed, just couldn't get anything going.
And then it's a big win for the Buffs, though, to get 2 wins on the weekend. Cause,
it's huge.
I mean, that just sets them up for – if they lost even one of the games, maybe one, if they lost both, I was like, they don't get in because they got to be top 4 in their conference, and they were sitting at 5th. GCU the only team below them. If they lost 1, 2, even one game, I think it's like, well, I don't see a path of them getting in, because they'd have to go on a hot streak in a very big way for the second half of the semester, and they don't have that many games is the biggest thing. There's not that many games left already.
The big thing to me, they only have 2 home conference games left, and those are the final games of the year against Colorado State. They have 6 games total in the conference left.
They haven't won a game on the road yet. We talked about before we started recording.
They have not won a game on the road this season. Granted, they've only had 5 road games, and 4 of them are against Jamestown and McKendree.
That's true. We did talk about that as well. They were not exactly the easiest road games.
Currently, right now, Jamestown is just outside the top 10. McKendree's 5.
Yep.
So, you know, it's fine. That game in Denver, though, that they were up 2-0 and lost 3-2, they should have had.
So, but they won 2 games, and
it's huge. It's
big. With
how GCU played in Fort Collins as well in between those days, that pretty much knocks out the Antelopes. Because, of course, it's not just by points that to decide who makes the tournament. It's win percentage. So currently CU sits either at 4th or 5th. I don't know exactly who's above them, if they're above CSU, because CSU's 2-3, and then they have an overtime loss and a tie in the conference. So I don't know how they kind of factor that in.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye out for that. But
CU is a solid 3-4.
So it's definitely better now than it was.
Much better. Their chances, to me, in the way that things look, it looks much better and much more promising.
Yeah, because like we say every time, ASU cemented at the top. They're in. I mean,
they're in.
They're in. I think they probably clinched it already, honestly.
They probably, yeah, because I think they're 9-0 in conference right now.
Yeah, so they're in.
Yeah, they're in.
And then after that, it's a battle for the final 3 spots between Denver, Utah, Colorado, and Colorado State. And
well, right now, the interesting thing in the most recent rankings, I think the next rankings will come out tomorrow, but in the most recent rankings, ASU's top 10, the other 5 teams in the WWCHL are all bottom 10. And CU was ranked 4th out of the 6 teams. Colorado State was ranked at 27, Denver at 26, CU at 24, Grand Canyon at 23, and then Utah at 22. So they were close, but they're all at the bottom of the rankings.
Yeah, I mean, there's
kind of goes back to our preview and really kind of paints the picture.
Yeah, ASU's good.
ASU's good. They're going to win the WWCHL. I don't really think that's going to be a question.
And once you hit playoffs, anything can happen.
You're right. Anything can happen. I mean, it is hockey. Hockey is unpredictable at times, so
yeah,
something crazy could happen.
I mean, the Buffs played them tight in that second game.
That is true,
but
so maybe if they get a third shot at them, maybe they score, maybe they get a couple, maybe they find a way to win.
But it's just I'm excited for that second semester of games from them now, just to see if they can claw and get that last spot, make their way to Salt Lake City.
Well, the thing is, they don't have another home game for 2 months. From when we're recording this, they have 3 road series to start the second semester. Their first home games of the second semester are February 10th and 11th against Wyoming, who, of course, currently ranked at the bottom of the division, unsurprisingly.
Wyoming's not in the division, though, right?
In the
you're talking
in women's D1, not the conference.
Okay. Yeah. No, yeah.
They're ranked 31 of 31.
Well, I know last year we showed up and walked into the rec center and it was like 14.
We were trying to troubleshoot some stuff. We all got there like 2 hours before the game that night, the D1 game that night, the men's D1 game that night, and the women's team was playing Wyoming, and they were absolutely stomping them.
Yeah. So, but those don't factor into
Conference winning percentage.
conference play at all. So
It's kind of just a confidence booster in a way. So I think the important thing for them is to look good against Wyoming and then bring it the next weekend when they play Colorado State at home.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'll be really important.
Yep. But certainly in a better position today than they were.
Oh, for sure.
4 days ago, 5 days ago, whatever it was.
For sure. I can't tell you how important these wins were for their season. Of course, we haven't said that it really we wouldn't say must win, but it really felt like must win.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they won. So
And they took care of business, and still going to be exciting second half of the second semester.
I think
all
to
the
me,
teams.
I want to see them get a road win or two against Colorado State and Utah. Those will be huge.
Yep.
Of course, they only play Utah twice, but they play CSU 4 times. If they get a win,
that could be the battle for the fourth spot.
Yeah, if they get a win in Fort Collins, those then they get the 2 home games at the end of the year. That would be huge, depending on how CSU, kind of ends up with their season. But then again, CSU, I'm just looking at this. CSU only has their games against CU left in the conference schedule. They have 4 games left. CU controls their own destiny to knock out the Rams, in a way. If they can play well, they go 3-1 against the Rams, they knock them out. It's pretty safe to assume.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
So they're in a good
last
position.
notes?
I think the women's team was the team I was the most impressed with this weekend because they got those wins. It was huge for their season. Of course, the D1 team played great Saturday night against the Rams.
They played pretty good Friday night.
But they played pretty good on Friday. But they couldn't even force it to overtime.
Yeah,
that was tough.
But
that was
either way,
heartbreaking.
it was
Oh my gosh,
fun weekend for sure.
Super fun weekend and a really good way to end the semester. Of course, one final encore performance on Friday with the D2 men's team playing Colorado State, but that's really it. The men's D1 and the women's team are both done for the first semester. They don't play until January. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to the second semester. I think it's going to be fantastic with what we have coming up.
I agree.
Well, with that, we'll say so long. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Dangle, Snipe, and Stampede. We hope you enjoyed listening to us talk hockey with you guys, and I want to thank Marc Borghi again for joining us here on the show. Have a good one, everyone, and you heard it here first on Scobuff Sports.